All right. Okay, this is gonna be a demonstration on how to color your artwork with Grayscale art. Okay, so in your assignments, I'm gonna give you guys access to this Google Drive folder. So this Google Drive folder will have a bunch of different black and white works of art. So these can kind of range from like drawings, paintings, anything. It's mainly just black and white artwork. So let me find where it is. Grayscale art. FG Grayscale. Oh, maybe I need to refresh it. Okay. CGGG. Grayscale art. Okay, here we go. Grayscale art. So you have a link to these different works of art. So some of these are sceneries or portraits, black and white drawings. So I'm not sure how these would translate with the drawings, but it could be kind of fun with it. So, but basically just black and white work for the artwork. So the intended goal though for your album covers that you guys are working on is, I would like for us to, do kind of like a black and white drawing where you're just thinking about your lights and darks values in the artwork, and then, areas that are grays where like shadows are. So I'm not gonna go like super in depth with like how to do those things. I did teach my traditional Art 1 classes and my drawing and painting class, but if you have this ability to be able to like kind of render your drawings, because I did notice some of you guys are pretty artistic with your work. Definitely grayscale coloring could be an option if you want to do that digitally. Okay, so but today we're just gonna experiment with it. So you're just gonna pick one of these artworks. So I'm gonna choose I usually like doing the portraits a lot. Let me do the one with the old man here. So I'm just gonna use my finger, hold it, hold it with your pointer finger, whatever, and then it's gonna ask you to save it to camera. Just click OK. So you click OK to save it, and then you're gonna upload that same work onto Procreate. So I'm gonna go to Gallery. I'm gonna click on Photo. I'm gonna click on the work I'm gonna work on, and it's gonna upload it on here. Okay, so okay, now if you've established your values pretty well in the drawing, the grayscale art's gonna make it so much easier to just color. So I didn't want you to do either like 2 or 3 of them though, just because once you kind of get like the idea of how to go about coloring things, it becomes pretty easy though. Okay, so yeah, so let me show you guys 2 different methods on like how you can color. So the first method is if you want to just do a new layer on top of it, so you just go on plus to create a new layer. If you go to your overlays, there's actually an overlay for just colors. So if you go to like scroll to the bottom, this one says color for overlays. So this one will be, wherever you want to kind of color in yellow, it'll color in yellow for like those areas. So I usually like using like a painterly brush. Wash is pretty good. So this is like if you want to just manually paint things in the artwork. So like, I want to go with like more of like a tanner color for like a skin tone. I can do that. If I want to put a little warmer reds on his nose, I can make it a little bit more redder there, maybe redder there. So, this is like if you wanted to just like, color things in your drawing. So this is like a way you can directly color things in the picture. So, not a big fan of this colorize layer, just because like sometimes the colors get like either oversaturated or get a little bit wonky. But this is a method though if you wanted to color your artwork using like the grayscales. And I'm putting white here, but it's like gray, so it's not doing like the best of jobs. Okay, but that's one option though to color your work, is you can use that to do coloring. The other method that I actually prefer more to do is using the grayscaling. So to use a grayscale coloring or the gradient, or we can use the gradient maps to color. Gonna click on the magic wand here. I'm gonna click on gradient map, and then this is gonna load up gradient map. So if you scroll left and right though, you'll have like some different gradients that you can use. So now these gradients are like the most important thing though, but it's just how we can kind of manipulate and change these gradients. And you can actually like pick and choose some of the areas to color in as your areas. So this is like a quick way to color in the work of art. Now, if you see like a gradient that you really like though, you know, I could see like something like this, being like a really nice dramatic effect or look for your artwork. So maybe this is like all you probably need to do for like the coloring of your project. But I just want you guys, show you guys like different ways you can manipulate the gradients. So you want to click on plus, you can create like additional gradients as well. Let me show you guys how to create the gradients. So I always like using about 4 gradients. You can click on 1, 2 at the end. So these are 1, 2 here. You click on 2 in the middle here. It'll create like some other in between gradients. Okay, now the way the gradients work though is, wherever your darks are, that's gonna be your darkest values. This is gonna be like where your middle grades are controlled. This is like your middle highlights, and then this is where your highlights are. So keeping that in mind, depending on like what areas you want to color in, you can create gradient masks for like those specific areas in particular. So for example, if I want to just color just the face here, I always start with the grayscale first. So, if I want to go for like a tanner color for, his skin tone, I go with like a tanner color here. Maybe the highlights could be like a warmer yellow maybe. So it doesn't have to always be like a white. So, now I have like these colors here. And then maybe I could do like a brown or something that complements the color for like the, for like the skin tone. So, it gives you a little bit more control. I usually don't tend to like use black for it though. If I'm just looking at like where I want the skin tones to be, this is like a good way to, colorize things. I think this is a little too yellow now. Maybe we can just do like a white. So, it's pretty good for the skin tone. So if you click on the button up here where it says gradient map 100%, you can actually lower or desaturate it if it's too strong. If you click on pencil, this will allow you to just kind of color in just those areas that you want colored in. So if I just want just the skin tones, I would just color in just where the skin tones are. Okay, so that's pretty simple though. You're just gonna color in things that you want. So you can just take your time with the coloring. And then, let's just say I wanted to color in, I don't know, his beard next or something. So I just click on the magic wand again, and that kind of finalizes the coloring in for those areas. So I would kind of go through the same process as before with the wrench, gradient map. I'm gonna click done to get a new gradient. So it'll save the gradients you last had. So I'm just gonna focus on just like the beard. So maybe I might want to make like the beard a orange color. So I thought this was a really neat color right here. So this gradient map here, I have like a yellow, red here, and I'm going with like a green over here. So you can be like really playful with these colors. It doesn't have to be like exact colors. The reason why I chose like these color combinations is just because I'm playing around with what we call different color schemes. So, red and green are complementary to each other. Yellow is like a nice highlight. Although I might not go with like this yellow. Maybe I might go with like an off yellow. So you can be really playful with this. Like, I'm getting some really cool looking colors with like the beard here. So it's a little hard to see because, obviously this is like the skin tone's still there. So we go back to penciling in things. So I have like my colors from before. Now if I color it in, this will only affect the beard. So I kind of like some of this green here. So maybe I can put some of this in my other picture too. So definitely if you enjoy some of these colors that you did before, you can kind of like paint over it, just to add those colors in. So just kind of a looser way of like painting and coloring and things. You can always change your brushes too. I'm just using the gouache brush. I might make it a little bit smaller. So I'm just coloring like the area of the hair. Okay, but I would just kind of do it for like all those areas that I want to color in. And, you know, feel free to always like, you know, just, you know, if you like these colors, you know, just be like, hey, I can just color in the rest of it. Okay, now, okay, I'm gonna click on here to finalize things, but, you know, now I'm gonna do like the background. So I'm gonna do like the same thing before gradient map. Let me try different colors. So let me do something that's like completely opposite of everything so far. So maybe, you can definitely use like some of these gradients already. So I might try this blue out maybe. So this blue is like a little too strong here. So I'm actually, if you double click on it, you can actually delete the gradient. Or yeah, these are finger picked up. So I'm not gonna, I just make it blue, it's fine. So, you know, it's really like doing something crazy with his head though, but I'm just only focused on the background. So try to get the background a little bit lighter. I want to do like a blue to complement it. I think the blue could be a little bit darker. It's not really much I'm doing in the background, but you know, same thing like before that. Click on gradient map, pencil, and then I'm just going to color in the background here. So this got a little too saturated with the blue. I'm not really a big fan of it, but you know, it's okay though. We'll just color it in. See what happens. You know, you can even still manipulate this even further. So maybe you don't like it so bright. Make it a little bit darker. You can also, you know, desaturate it too if it's too strong. Okay. So I did that really rough, but you see like how I basically colored my whole piece without even having to touch anything that I've done so far. Okay, so I want you to, you know, do at least 2 or 3 of them. You know, just to practice how to, you know, color or add color to your, you know, black and white artwork.